एनडीए ऑनलाइन, नहीं नहीं ऊपर का सर, एनडीए ऑनलाइन, नहीं सेकंड वाला। जी, वो ओके बोलना पड़ेगा। आर यू गाइस जस्ट 12th स्टैंडर्ड और 12th प्लस आल्सो? ये 12th 12th प्लस दोनों, या सिर्फ 12th है? अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं, मैं बस कंफर्म कर रही हूँ। ओके, वी बिगिन हियर। yesterday we had finished this part. हमने कल oceans and we had finished three of the major oceans, Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian, and then we had checked out tides, and that was that. Okay, now let's do question answers based on that. ये हम पहले कर चुके हैं, वाइड कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ क्या नहीं फैसिलिटेट करता है। ये बात, ये दो क्वेश्चंस आपके। Which of the following is a warm current? Norwegian, Kurile, West Australian, Humboldt current. So can you please get off your phone? बोलिए, इसमें से कौन सा वार्म करंट है? नॉर्वेजियन, क्यूराइल, वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन या हम्बोल्ट? इसमें से आई गिव यू हिंट, इसमें से वो करंट वार्म है जो जाके ऑल द वे स्कैंडिनेविया के पोर्ट्स को आइस फ्री रखता है इन विंटर। विंटर में भी वहां के पोर्ट्स को आइस फ्री रखता है स्कैंडिनेविया के। स्कैंडिनेविया में है ही कितने कंट्रीज? कुल मिला के चार, तीन चार, आपको बस वो काउंट करना है। हाँ हाँ हाँ, see this one, I'm talking about this current, this country. इसे नॉर्वे, स्वीडन, फिनलैंड, डेनमार्क, इन सबको हम स्कैंडिनेविया बुलाते हैं। ओके, दैट इज जस्ट व्हाट वी कॉल देम। ओके, यहाँ ये वाला जो रीजन है, नॉर्वे, स्वीडन, फिनलैंड, डेनमार्क और नेदरलैंड्स, उसको हम मिलाकर स्कैंडिनेविया कहते हैं। ओके, बिकॉज वहाँ का क्लाइमेट सिमिलर है, वहाँ का एथनिसिटी सिमिलर है, सो ऑन सो फोर्थ, सो दैट एंटायर प्रोविंस गेट्स कॉल्ड स्कैंडिनेवियन। ओके, नाउ इफ आई से कि यहाँ पे करंट है जो इस तरफ जाता है, ओके, यहाँ पे जाता है और यहाँ के पोर्ट्स को आइस फ्री रखता है। आइस फ्री रखता है तो क्लियरली वार्म करंट होगा। वार्म करंट कहाँ से कहाँ जाता है? पोल्स से लेके इक्वेटर, सॉरी इक्वेटर से लेके पोल्स तक, दैट इज द जनरल आइडिया। ओके, टुवर्ड्स द पोल्स जाने वाले करंट को वार्म करंट्स बोलेंगे। तो दिस इज द नॉर्वेजियन करंट। ओके, इसको नॉर्वेजियन करंट कहते हैं। यहाँ पर जो नॉर्मल करंट आता है उसको हम नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट कहते हैं। रिमेंबर वी से कि वो साउथ अटलांटिक, साउथ नॉर्थ इक्वेटोरियल करंट जो है वो यहाँ से जाता है, यहाँ से एंटिल्स बन के निकलता है, यहाँ से फ्लोरिडा स्ट्रीम, फ्लोरिडा करंट, देन यहाँ से गल्फ स्ट्रीम, देन यहाँ से नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट बन के, एंड यहाँ से आगे जब वो एक्सटेंड होगा तो देन वी कॉल दैट एज द नॉर्वेजियन करंट। ओके people, you need to revise the currents again ना। this is not done, whatever I teach you you forget the next day, वो ऐसा नहीं चलेगा, मुश्किल हो जाएगी आपके लिए। कहाँ गया this one? Okay, so we say नॉर्वेजियन करंट जो है वो इसमें से वार्म करंट है। करंट कहाँ मिलता है आपको? जो आता है उसको नेट से जाता है तो यूजुअली, एंड ऊपर से नीचे जा रहा है तो ऑब्वियसली, सॉरी नीचे से ऊपर जा रहा है तो ऑब्वियसली कोल्ड करंट होगा। ओके, हम्बोल्ट करंट या पेरुवियन करंट ऑब्वियसली पेरू की साइड में जाएगा, साउथ अमेरिकन कॉन्टिनेंट के वेस्ट साइड पे, तो उसको हम हम्बोल्ट करंट। ओके, दैट इज ऑल्सो कोल्ड करंट। नेक्स्ट वन, विच वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज अ कोल्ड करंट? मोजाम्बिक, कुरुशियो, कनारी एंड साउथ पैसिफिक। नहीं बोल देती हूँ, कनारी करंट। ओके, वी से कनारी करंट इज कोल्ड करंट। ओके, कनारी करंट को कोल्ड करंट बुलाएंगे। You are also looking for Mozambique, Curaçao and South Pacific, right? ये दिखाई दे रहा है आपको? जैसे कैलिफोर्निया करंट कूल होता है वैसे करंट भी कूल ही होता है। ओके, करंट people, I'll just give you a general we were checking out Mozambique, Curaçao, South Pacific. Okay, Mozambique current Indian Ocean. ओके, रिमेम्बर हमने कहा था ये तो वहां पे जाके कुछ मूव कीजिए, अदरवाइज हाउ डू यू नो दैट द दिस इज बैक, द फीड इज बैक? Where is that girl who was sitting at the back? Where is your friend? What for? You got a call from old lady, say. Which ma'am did you speak to? Sorry? To fill the form. Okay, you're back. कौन सा वाला? D? D option? You're saying, आप बोल रहे हो कि, मिनट, you're saying बेंगुएला जो है वो, साउथ अटलांटिक। ओके, देन अगुलस जो है वो क्लियरली इंडियन ओशन का है। कैलिफोर्निया करंट नॉर्थ पैसिफिक का, एंड पेरुवियन करंट साउथ पैसिफिक का। बी ए, हाँ डीसी, बी ए डी सी, ये वाला, ठीक है, गॉट इट। बेंगुएला, अगुलस, कैलिफोर्निया, पेरुवियन। वी आर सेइंग ये बेंगुएला करंट है, दिस इज द बेंगुएला करंट, मैं इसको बेंगुएला बोल दूंगी। ये अगुलहस है, यहाँ से जो जाएगा, एक्चुअली यहाँ से आगे जो जाएगा वो उसको अगुलहस बुलाएंगे, मेडिटेरेनियन का। दिस इज द पेरुवियन करंट, ये वाला पेरुवियन या हम्बोल्ट करंट बुलाते हैं हम उसको। ओके, वी कॉल इट द हम्बोल्ट द पेरुवियन करंट। एंड एक कौन सा और बोला था आपको? कैलिफोर्निया करंट, दिस इज द कूल कैलिफोर्निया करंट ओवर हियर। ओके, दीज आर द वेरियस करंट्स। सो ऑब्वियसली ये नॉर्थ पैसिफिक में आएगा बिकॉज पैसिफिक का है, ये साउथ पैसिफिक का करंट हो जाएगा, पेरुवियन करंट। बेंगुएला करंट विल बी साउथ अटलांटिक, एंड अगुलस विल ऑब्वियसली बी इंडियन ओशन। ओके, मोजाम्बिक का ही कंटिन्यूएशन हम अगुलस को समझते हैं, सो दैट्स दैट। ये वाला बताइए, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स कंसर्निंग टाइड्स इज इनकरेक्ट? इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट बताना है। Period between two successive high tides is 12 hours 26 minutes. Tides are intensified in estuaries. Tides cannot be predicted in advance, and spring tides occur during syzygy. First statement examine कीजिए, period between two successive high tides is 12 hours 26 minutes. Yes, we said two high tides, अगर एक दिन में normal semi diurnal pattern follow करना है आपको, तो एक दिन में आपके पास दो high tides होते हैं, दो low tides होंगे एक ही जगह पे। हाँ, we are talking of the same place. We say every single place on the earth will, जहाँ पे diurnal semi diurnal tide का pattern होगा वहां पे आपको टू हाई टाइड्स टू लो टाइड्स मिलेंगे। अब ये चार चीजें, चार टाइड्स आपको टू लो मिलकर 24 घंटे में बिठाना है। तो यू विल क्लियरली, दो हाई टाइड्स के बीच में ऑब्वियसली आपके पास 12 hours 26 मिनट्स होगा। कैसा आता है? लो हाई ऐसे टाइड्स होंगे, राइट? तो बिटवीन अ हाई एंड लो टाइड, और बिटवीन अ लो एंड हाई टाइड, यू विल हैव 6 hours 13 minutes, and between two successive high tides or two successive low tides you're going to have 12 hours 26 minutes. हाँ, तो ये वाला फंडा तो सही है, दिस इज करेक्ट। ओके, ये स्टेटमेंट सही है। टाइड्स एस्चुरीज में जाके इंटेंसिफाई हो जाते हैं। हाँ, एस्चुरीज क्या होता है? एसेंशियली नैरो चैनल्स होते हैं, डीप चैनल्स होते हैं ऑफ द रिवर व्हेन द रिवर मीट्स द सी अंडर द सरफेस ऑफ द सी। ओके, रिवर माउथ जब सी को अंडर द सी सरफेस मिलता है तब जाके जो डीप सा चैनल होता है वो, अब उसके अंदर अगर टाइड का पानी घुस जाएगा तो ऑब्वियसली, मैंने आपसे कल कहा था ना, टाइडल बोर्स वगैरह शुरू हो जाते हैं, रिवर ऐसा लगता है कि उल्टा चल रहा है, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ, है ना। टाइडल एनर्जी के लिए बहुत जरूरी होता है, वहां पे लोग अंडर सी टर्बाइंस फिट करा देते हैं टाइडल एनर्जी जनरेट करने के लिए। आई स्पोक अबाउट ऑल दीज थिंग्स, राइट? मे बी हाफ ऑफ यू वांट इन द क्लास, नो प्रॉब्लम। सो वी आर सेइंग ऑब्वियसली टाइड्स इंटेंसिफाई होता है, टाइड्स नॉर्मलाइज कहाँ हो जाते हैं, टाइड्स की हाइट यूजुअली कम कहाँ होती है या कहाँ पे कम इफेक्टिव होते हैं, जहाँ पे आप खुले खुले ओशन में, ओके। जैसे ही आपको छोटी छोटी नैरो स्पेसेस दी जाए अंदर घुसने के लिए टाइड को, तो क्लियरली टाइड्स थोड़े से ज्यादा इंटेंसिफाई होते हैं। यू आर ऑलरेडी सेइंग कि एक हाई प्रेशर से पानी ऊपर आ रहा है, चढ़ रहा है, कहीं तो सी लेवल राइज कर रहा है, ऊपर से आप उसको कंस्ट्रिक्टेड स्पेस दो, तो ऑब्वियसली वो थोड़ा सा इंटेंसिफाई हो जाएगा ना, उसका जो भी थोड़ा सा मॉडिफाई हो जाएगा, एंड मॉडिफाई इस तरह से हो जाएगा कि इट विल बिकम अ लिटिल मोर इंटेंस, इट विल बिकम अ लिटिल मोर डिस्ट्रक्टिव, थोड़ा ज्यादा फास्ट हो जाएगा, एक्सेलरेट हो जाएगा, उसका डायरेक्शन चेंज हो जाएगा। तो ये सारी चीजें तो नॉर्मल है ना। तो क्लियरली अगर इंटेंस एस्चुरीज में भेजो, बेज में भेजो, या फिर नैरो क्रीक्स में जाने दो, तो बॉम्बे की तरफ के टाइड्स हमेशा आपको थोड़े से हाई ही लगेंगे, क्योंकि दैट एंटायर कोस्ट लाइन इज वेरी इंडेंटेड। इंडेंटेड समझता है आपको, ऐसे अंदर बाहर जिगजैग जिगजैग टाइप का जो कोस्ट लाइन होता है वो। सो ये सेकंड वाला स्टेटमेंट भी सही है। टाइड्स को एडवांस में प्रिडिक्ट नहीं कर सकते, क्या ये सही है? नहीं, करेक्ट, क्योंकि हमको पता है ना टाइड्स कब आते हैं, वी नो टाइड्स कब आते हैं, हमको पता है 6 घंटे में अगला हाई टाइड आएगा, फिर उसके 6 घंटे बाद अगला लो टाइड आएगा। आपको ये भी पता है कि स्प्रिंग टाइड्स कब होते हैं, लीप टाइड्स कब होते हैं। स्प्रिंग टाइड्स हर पूर्णिमा या अमावस को आएंगे, लीप टाइड्स हर 7वें 8वें दिन पे आएंगे, उसके बाद जो 7वां 8वां दिन आता है पूर्णिमा या अमावस के बाद वाला, सप्तमी अष्टमी जिसको हम कहते हैं हिंदू कैलेंडर के हिसाब से, तब आएंगे। सो ये तो हमको पता है ना। ऑब्वियसली देयर आर एडवाइजरीज गिवन टू ऑल सॉर्ट्स ऑफ फिशरमैन एंड नेविगेटर्स कि यार इस दिन पे हाई टाइड्स होंगे तो संभाल के जाओ बाहर, है ना, क्लियरली। सो ये वाला स्टेटमेंट तो सही नहीं है, ओके, दिस स्टेटमेंट इज इनकरेक्ट। एंड स्प्रिंग टाइड सिजिकी पे आकर करते हैं, यस, बिकॉज यू वांट द सन मून एंड द अर्थ टू बी इन अ स्ट्रेट लाइन, उसको सिजिकी बोलेंगे। कोई भी तीन सेलेस्टियल बॉडीज अगर सिंगल लाइन में आ जाए, तो उसको ऑलमोस्ट सेम लाइन में आ जाए, तो उसको सिजिकी कहते हैं। वो टाइड्स के लिए बेनिफिशियल होता है। स्प्रिंग टाइड्स उस दिन होते हैं, वेदर इट इज द अर्थ एंड मून आर ऑन द सेम साइड और ऑन डिफरेंट साइड्स, वी आर सेइंग कि सन एंड मून सेम साइड पे हो या डिफरेंट डिफरेंट साइड्स पे हो, लेकिन फिर भी आपको स्प्रिंग टाइड का इफेक्ट मिलेगा। टाइड्स विल बी 20% हायर एंड 20% लोअर, लो टाइड्स विल बी इवन लोअर एंड हाई टाइड्स विल बी इवन हायर, ओके, जो भी नॉर्मल होता होगा। तो आपका सिर्फ थर्ड स्टेटमेंट गलत है। योर आंसर इज गोइंग टू बी 3 ओवर हियर, ये वाला, दिस इज गोइंग टू बी योर आंसर, ओके। थर्ड स्टेटमेंट जो है सी, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी योर आंसर। मुझे सिर्फ टाइड ही करने हैं ना। ये वाला बताइए, ऑन विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग ओकेजन्स वुड द टाइडल रेंज बी ग्रेटर? टाइडल रेंज सबसे हाई कब होगा? जब हम यहाँ के दो, ये जो दो है, मैं वापस बता दूं आपको, ये जो दोनों चारों ऑप्शंस आपको दिखाई दे रहे हैं, उसमें से वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ ओकेजन्स जब मून सबसे करीब होगा एंड मून सबसे दूर होगा अर्थ से, अर्थ के ऑर्बिट से, एंड देन क्लियरली जब अर्थ का ऑर्बिट सन से सबसे करीब होता है एंड सन से सबसे दूर होता है। ये चार ओकेजन्स है यहाँ पे, ओके। तो हाई टाइड्स कब होंगे? अगर वो ग्रेविटेशनल अट्रैक्शन की वजह से है बिटवीन द सन एंड द मून एंड द अर्थ। सो ऑब्वियसली जब when the moon will be closest and when the sun will be closest to the earth, उस टाइम पे आपको सबसे हाई टाइड्स इंटेंसिफाइड मिलेंगे, राइट? टाइडल रेंज ग्रेटर होगी, अग्री? तो अभी मुझे बताइए कि वो कौन से ओकेजन है इसमें से। पेरिजी पेरी पेरीहिलियन, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। पेरिजी पेरीहिलियन, पेरिजी माने द मून इज द क्लोजेस्ट टू द अर्थ एंड पेरीहिलियन माने द सन इज द क्लोजेस्ट टू द अर्थ, ओके। पेरीहिलियन कब अकर करता है? व्हेन इज द सन क्लोजेस्ट टू द अर्थ? देयर आर डेट्स प्रॉपर, क्योंकि साल में 2 ही दिन है ना, एक बार वो जब से सबसे क्लोजेस्ट होगा और जो सबसे दूर होगा। तो पेरीहिलियन कब होता है, अप्हीलियन कब होता है? अभी अभी होके गया एक अप्हीलियन। नहीं, दैट इज 4 जुलाई। अमेरिकन इंडिपेंडेंस डे को अप्हीलियन मानते हैं हम लोग नॉर्मली, मतलब रिमेंबर इट दैट वे। आई डोंट नो हाउ आप हिस्ट्री याद रखते हो क्या साथ साथ ज्योग्राफी के? हाँ, गुड, ओके। तो 4 जुलाई इज द अमेरिकन इंडिपेंडेंस डे। तो पेरीहिलियन इज सपोज अप्हीलियन इज सपोज टू बी दैट डे ऑन 4 जुलाई एंड पेरीहिलियन इज सपोज टू बी ऑन 3 Jan, ओके। एंड बाकी मून का तो आप देख लो। ये वाला बताइए, सागैसो सी इज फाउंड इन नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न पैसिफिक, नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ओशन, साउथ इंडियन और साउथ अटलांटिक ओशन। सागैसो सी कहाँ मिलता है? नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न पैसिफिक इज वन ऑफ द रिचेस्ट फिशिंग ग्राउंड्स एवर, क्योंकि आपको वहां पे वार्म कुरोशियो, कोल्ड ओयाशियो करंट्स का मिक्सिंग मिलता है एंड काफी इलीगल टाइप का भी फिशिंग होता है वहां पे। कौन जाके चाइना को रोके एंड रशिया को रोके? हम्म? नहीं, नॉर्थ अटलांटिक, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ओशन का है। मैंने कल आपको वो बर्मुडा ट्रायंगल वाली भी स्टोरी बताई थी कि दैट्स एन अर्बन मिथ, लेकिन दैट इज द सेम प्लेस। वो वहीं वहीं से आता है, बिकॉज सागैसो सी यूज्ड टू बी सच अ स्टैटिक प्लेस कि वहां से शिप्स मूव ही नहीं करते थे। तो वहां से हमने वो उसी को एक्सटेंड करवाया, उसी मिथ को एक्सटेंड करवाया इन द फॉर्म ऑफ बर्मुडा ट्रायंगल मिथ, ओके। अदरवाइज There is nothing in the world, no stats in the world that can ever give evidence that Bermuda Triangle is any more problematic than any other shipping route in the world. Okay, people, we'll go with North Atlantic Sea, North Atlantic Ocean. ठीक है, नहीं ये नहीं. Oh, एक सेकंड ना. हाँ, चलो ये बताइए. Consider the following statements with reference to sea waves. दिखाई दे रहा है आपको? हाँ. कौन सा स्टेटमेंट सही है? The height of the waves is determined by wind speed, wind duration and fetch. Yes, है ना? जितना ज्यादा आपका wind के बगैर, wind is the dominant factor for pushing any wave from any place to any place. So we are saying obviously wind speed, wind duration and fetch माने कितना uninterrupted जाता है वो wave, बहुत सही है. Okay. Energy of wave is proportional to the square of its height. Absolutely correct. And waves retain most of their energy. Yeah, because waves क्या करते हैं, वो एक्चुअली पानी, आपको ऐसा लगता है कि समुद्र की वो लहर पता नहीं कितनी दूर से यहाँ तक आ रही है, लेकिन वो समुद्र की लहर कितनी दूर से नहीं आती रहती. इट इज नॉट लाइक द सेम वाटर इज बीइंग. आप मास नहीं ट्रांसफर कर रहे हो, आप बस एनर्जी ट्रांसफर कर, आप माने वो वेव बस मास नहीं ट्रांसफर करिए, पानी नहीं ट्रांसफर करिए. एक्चुअली इट इज जस्ट ट्रांसफरिंग दैट एनर्जी. एक पानी दूसरे पानी को एनर्जी देता है एंड वो वेव आगे जाती है. दैट इज हाउ इट वर्क्स. ओके, इसे सर्कुलर फैशन में आगे जाता है वो. सो क्लियरली यू आर नॉट ट्रांसफरिंग द मास, तो क्लियरली आपको वो एनर्जी पॉइंट टू पॉइंट मिलती है एंड पॉइंट टू पॉइंट आगे जाता है. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so you're going with 1, 2 and 3. ये वाला बताइए, which of the following factors influence the ocean currents? Coriolis force, gravity, heating by solar energy or wind? Coriolis force, sir, can it influence the ocean currents? Yes, it will deflect the ocean currents to the right in the northern and to the left in the southern hemisphere. Okay, तो Coriolis force definitely है. ग्रेविटी, हाँ बिल्कुल, ग्रेविटी तो हर चीज को इन्फ्लुएंस करता है ना. अर्थ के ऊपर जितना भी होता है उसको ग्रेविटी इन्फ्लुएंस करता है. वी सेड कि जब पानी, इक्वेटर का पानी बहुत ज्यादा तब जाता है तो ऊपर जाएगा एंड वो ग्रेडियंट फॉर्म करेगा, और उस ग्रेडियंट के अलॉन्ग जब पानी नीचे खींचा जाता है तो इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ द फोर्स ऑफ ग्रेविटी. हीटिंग बाय सोलर एनर्जी, हाँ बिल्कुल, एब्सोल्युटली. अगर प्रेशर, टेम्परेचर या सैलिनिटी में डिफरेंस ना हो, पानी यहाँ से वहां, वहां से यहाँ मूव ही क्यों करेगा? ओके, अग्री. एंड विंड, उसकी वजह से तो सब चल रहा है दुनिया. राइट, वेरी करेक्ट. सो वी आर गोइंग विद 1, 2 and 3, 4. ऑल राइट, लो जी. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग आर वार्म ओशन करंट्स? अलास्कन, अगुलस, फॉकलैंड एंड वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन. अच्छा, उन्होंने वैसे ऑप्शंस दिए. ओके. अलास्कन करंट गर्म है या ठंडा? कोल्ड करंट है अलास्कन करंट. हम्म. कौन सा ऑप्शन? बी फॉर बॉम्बे. हाँ जी, बराबर है. 1 and 2 आर कोल्ड वार्म करंट्स. ओके, वी से कि अलास्कन करंट इज वार्म, अगुलस करंट इज वार्म, फॉकलैंड इज कोल्ड एंड वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन इज कोल्ड. अलास्कन, अगुलस, फॉकलैंड, वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन. ओके. अलास्कन करंट, ओके, थोड़ा सा ऊपर की तरफ से जाएगा, इतना नीचे से नहीं जाएगा. वी आर सेइंग थोड़ा सा यहाँ से. ओके, दिस इज द अलास्कन करंट. व्हाट डिड यू से अनदर? फॉकलैंड करंट. तो हम यहाँ से नीचे से जो जा रहा है ना उसकी बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ से जो आएगा वो वाला करंट की बात कर रहे हैं, इतना आगे नहीं बट यहाँ तक. ओके, वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ दिस करंट. वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ दिस करंट, ये जो यहाँ से ऊपर जाएगा दैट इज द फॉकलैंड करंट. वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन करंट, ऑब्वियसली कोल्ड करंट. ओके, ऊपर जा रहा है ना, नीचे से ऊपर जा रहा है, पोल से इक्वेटर जा रहा है, तो क्लियरली दैट इज द वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन करंट. ओके, कोल्ड करंट, फॉकलैंड करंट, दिस वाज द अलास्कन करंट. एंड और क्या बोला उन्होंने? अगुलस. दिस इज अगुलस, मोजाम्बिक एंड ये वाला अगुलस करंट. ओके, सो ये सारे वार्म करंट्स हो गए. अगुलस एंड अलास्कन जो है वो स्पेसिफिकली वार्म हो गए. एंड फॉकलैंड करंट एंड वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन करंट है कोल्ड करंट्स. रिमेंबर मैंने आपको फॉकलैंड करंट के बारे में बताया था कि वो केप हॉर्न जो है, वो जो साउथ अमेरिका का जो टिप है, तो वहां से वो नीचे से आइसबर्ग्स लेके आता है एंड पूरे स्ट्रेट्स में जाके छोड़ देता है, तो वो नेविगेशन के लिए थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करता है। वेस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलियन करंट, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के वेस्ट, वो जो वेस्टर्न साइड पे सारे आउटबैक्स या डेजर्ट्स दिखाई देते हैं, उसके लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है। Alaskan Alaskan current will keep the ports ice free in the winter. ये सारे करंट्स की खासियत है, ये अलास्कन करंट या ये नॉर्वेजियन करंट, ये इस तरफ से जाने वाला नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट, ये नॉर्थ पैसिफिक ड्रिफ्ट यहाँ पे। सो वी आर सेइंग दिस विल ऑल कीप द colder parts of the world in the winters pretty ice free. Okay, इकोनॉमिक ऑपरेशंस के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, इसलिए बार बार मेंशन किया जाता है। ओके, एंड और क्या बोला, अगुलस, अगुलस तो वार्म है। इन दोनों में से जाएगा मैडागास्कर एंड मोजाम्बिक के बीच में से, तो उसको मोजाम्बिक बोलेंगे। वो वहां से बाहर आ जाएगा तो उसको अगुलस बुलाएंगे। क्या इस मैप पे सागैसो सी कहाँ है, यहाँ पे, क्योंकि ना इसके अराउंड एक पूरा सी वी आर सेइंग, यहाँ से नॉर्थ अटलांटिक, नॉर्थ इक्वेटोरियल करंट जाता है, यहाँ से एंटिल्स जाएगा, यहाँ से फ्लोरिडा जाएगा, दिस इज द गल्फ स्ट्रीम। ओके, यहाँ से आगे स्ट्रेट जाएगा नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ड्रिफ्ट एंड इसके आगे एक्सटेंड होगा नॉर्थ नॉर्वेजियन करंट। ओके, फिर वही करंट जो है वो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा स्प्लिट हो जाता है और नीचे से कूल कनारी करंट बन के नीचे आ जाता है। ओके, वी आर सेइंग ये कूल कनारी करंट बन के नीचे आ जाता है। तो यू आर सेइंग कि ये जो पूरा जायर है ये ऐसे इसके अराउंड गोल गोल घूमता है, राइट? लेकिन यहाँ का जो पानी है वो एकदम स्टेबल है, स्टेडी है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे सब ट्रॉपिकल हाई भी है, तो क्लियरली थिंग्स आर नॉट मूविंग अराउंड ओवर हियर। ओके, एंड इट हैज ऑल दैट sargassum, वो जो वीड होता है ना, ब्राउनिश रेडिश ब्राउनिश कलर का, वो सारा वीड वहां पे फैल चुका है। तो वहां पे कोई मूवमेंट नहीं है, हवा नहीं होती है, बिकॉज काम विंड्स होता है, ऐसे भी सबसाइडिंग विंड्स है, तो सब कुछ काम है। एंड क्लियरली द ओशन वाटर इज ऑल्सो नॉट मूविंग एंड इट्स वेरी स्टैटिक एंड दैट्स sargasso sea। फिश वाला एरिया यहाँ पे, एक सेकेंड, दिस इज द फिशिंग रीजन, ये वाला, ये फिशिंग रीजन, इसको ग्रैंड बैंक्स बुलाते हैं। बिकॉज यू आर सेइंग कि ऊपर से कोल्ड करंट आएगा, नीचे से वार्म करंट जाएगा, एंड वो दोनों का मिक्सिंग हो जाएगा, एंड दैट विल बी द फिशिंग रीजन। अनदर फिशिंग रीजन ओवर हियर इज गोइंग टू बी हियर, डॉगर बैंक इन द नॉर्थ सी, दिख रहा है यहाँ पे, दिस वन, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी अनदर फिशिंग मेजर फिशिंग रीजन इन दिस रीजन। ये वाला रीजन भी बहुत फेमस है फिशिंग के लिए, दिस रीजन, दिस इज अनदर फेमस फिशिंग रीजन। और कहाँ फिश ढूंढेंगे यार अब यहाँ पे, this region, Northwest Pacific. This is another famous fishing region. एक तो अच्छा खासा वाइड शेल्फ भी मिल जाएगा आपको, एंड क्लियरली कोल्ड एंड वार्म करंट स्टफ ये है, एंड वो नेशंस बहुत मोर देन हैप्पी है टू फिश। हाँ, ठीक है। Which among the following is not correct with reference to the Benguela current? It influences the climate of the west coast of North Africa. It's a cold current. Its direction is from south to north, and it flows in the Atlantic Ocean. कौन सा? हम्म, कौन सा बोला आपने? ए फॉर अहमदाबाद? नहीं। बेंगोला कहाँ मिलेगा आपको? अफ्रीका में। हाँ, उससे हम कौन सी डेजर्ट एसोसिएट करते हैं? विच डेजर्ट डू वी एसोसिएट विद इट? नो, नो, नो। वी आर सेइंग ये कोल कोल कूल कैनरी करंट जो है, उसके साथ हम सहारा को एसोसिएट करते हैं, और यहाँ से जो बेंगोला जाता है उसके साथ हम नामिब डेजर्ट को एसोसिएट करते हैं, है ना? वी एसोसिएट द डेजर्ट, नामिब डेजर्ट विद इट। ओके, सहारा इज एसोसिएटेड विद द कूल कैनरी करंट। ओके, so if the Benguela is passing over here, which part of Africa is this? The southern part, right? You're talking of the southern part of Africa. तो वो southern Africa के climate को affect करेगा. It will affect the climate of of southern Africa. This is northern Africa, the one that I've just that is northern Africa. The cool Canary current is going to affect that climate. Okay, the Benguela current is going to affect the climate of the southern part of Africa. Okay, not entire, not South Africa, because South Africa happens to be a nation. Okay, we are talking of southern Africa, नीचे वाला part, the lower part of Africa. Okay, so it is true, and it is of the Atlantic Ocean, right? Benguela current is of the Atlantic Ocean, and it is a cold current. It moves from south towards the north. You know, all this is right, right? The current is moving from the south towards the north. It is a cold current, and it does belong to the Atlantic. You know, this is from the Atlantic Ocean. The only problem is that the first statement said कि it affects the northern part of Africa. है ना? It affects the climate of North Africa. It should ideally affect the climate of southern Africa. थोड़ा सा नीचे नीचे आना चाहिए आपने, क्लाइमेट नीचे अफेक्ट होता है। ये वाला स्टेटमेंट गलत होगा, दिस स्टेटमेंट इज रॉन्ग। West coast of not North Africa. West coast of North Africa is affected by the cool Canary Current. Okay. The west coast of South Africa or Southern Africa is affected by Benguela Current. Okay. Everything else is absolutely correct. That it's a cold current. Its direction is from north to south to north, and it flows in the Atlantic. हाँ जी, ये वाला बताइए, which of the following statements regarding neap tides is correct? It occurs every 14 to 15 days, which coincides with the first and third quarter of the moon. This tide has a small tidal range because of the gravitational forces of the sun and moon are in quadrature. Neap tides, when do spring tides occur? We say that every 15th and 30th of the month should be, that is ideally considered the new moon and full moon, right? So that should be considered as the spring tides, day for the spring tides. Okay, when do neap tides occur? 7 days after the full moon and 7 days after the new moon. Okay, 7 or 8 days after that. So can you say that neap tides also occur every 14-15 days? Yes. And they occur, and it coincides with the first and third quarter of the moon. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it coincides. You understand now what the first and third quarter of the moon is? You're saying more different quarters hote hain na moon ke. You will when you can see half of the moon. You know the phases of the moon, right? I should not have to. Good. Okay. So it coincides with the first and third quarter of the moon. Okay. You are just talking of half of the moon that you can see now. Okay. By in 7 days, you can see half of the moon. Okay. Okay. And so we are going with this first statement. And the second statement says this side has a small tidal range because the gravitational forces of sun and moon are in quadrature. That is absolutely true. You are saying this is the earth, this is the earth, this is the moon, and this is where the sun lies. Okay. So clearly, this ye wala jo movement hai, the sun and the moon are in quadrature. Okay. If they were in a straight line, then we would have said that this is the spring tide. Okay. If they are in quadrature, we say this is the neap tide. Okay. Tides are 20% less high and high tides are 20% less higher and low tides are 20% more high. ऐसे हाँ ऐसे बोलना चाहिए उल्टा होना चाहिए. Okay, so we say both 1 and 2 is correct. ये वाला बताइए, which one of the following is not a cold current? West Australian, East Australian, Benguela, Peru. East Australian, absolutely. The Finding Nemo current. Okay, we are saying that East Australian current is a warm current. Okay, it comes from the equator towards the East Australian, West Australian, Benguela, Peru. Okay, this is the East Australian current. Okay, East Australian. This is the West Australian current. Okay, this is the Benguela current, and this is the Peruvian or Humboldt current. Okay, okay, got it. So obviously, the currents which are going from the poles towards the equator are going to be cold currents, whereas the ones going from the equator towards the poles are going to be obviously warm currents. So East Australian is a warm current. Okay, it's a good current, strong current. Which of the following positions of sun, moon, and earth are suitable for the spring tides? You want maximum gravitational attraction and you want a greater tidal range. Syzygy conjunction, okay. Syzygy opposition, no, not syzygy opposition. Meaning sun and moon are on different sides of the earth. Will that not work for spring tides? No, only sun and moon, only earth and both will work. Absolutely, both will work. Both syzygy conjunction as well as syzygy opposition will work. Okay, because see, 1 and 2. Quadrature will not work. Quadrature is for neap tides. Absolutely, you see, quadrature is for neap tides. Okay, option is going to be C. 1 and 2 are correct. The periodic rise and fall of water, ocean water in response to gravitational forces is called current, waves, tide, tsunami. Tides. Okay. How are tsunamis different from tides? Is that also rise and fall of water? Is there a fall of water? No, there is just rising water. You have a back. You have a there is a backflow or a backwash, but that is not essentially fall of water. This is a proper ocean water that comes way away from somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Energy is transferred to that water, and that water keeps coming to the shore. And when it reaches the shore, clearly the depth does not agree with it because the depth is very less. The height of the wave rises, and it is that tall wave which falls upon the coast. Okay, and usually creates all sorts of destruction. That is a tsunami. Okay, currents and waves. Yeah, it does go back. It does go back. The backwater, the that is not, that won't be considered fall. When the tsunami is actually going back now, what you're when we experience that high wave over there, we are experiencing this part of the wave, the uh, you know crest of the wave. Okay, and when you're experiencing the backwash or the back toe, you're experiencing the trough of the wave. That is what is happening. So if that trough is there, then clearly there is a crest coming in. That is why you should be very careful of that trough. If you feel that the water is sinking or going backwards into the ocean, you should make haste towards some drier ground, somewhere far away from the coast. As people in Thailand had actually done that. There was a group of family. There is a very, very famous story that the kid had actually paid attention in a geography class, and she told her parents, let's go because there is another huge wave coming in. So, but and this is, back then tsunami wasn't such a how do you say, global phenomenon. It became a global phenomenon because so many people were vacationing at that time. People from all over the world, where tsunamis do not occur so easily. People were vacationing at that time in Thailand and Indonesia and all these people got affected. It was Christmas, remember? It was the Christmas vacation. And that's why tsunami became such a rage out there. Which one of the following is not a current of the Pacific Ocean? Agulhas, Indian Ocean, absolutely correct. Agulhas is an Indian Ocean current. Oyashu is a cold current. Oyashu, Alaska, California. Okay, चलो जी. Pacific के oceans. अब मैं आपको यही दिखा देती हूँ उसको उल्टा उल्टा. We are saying Oyashu current comes from here. Okay, it's a cold current. हाँ, Oyashu is a cold current. और क्या बोला उन्होंने? Alaskan current. Alaskan current is here. Okay, this is the Alaskan current. And we had the Kuroshio, na? पेरुवियन था, हम्बोल्ट करंट था. हम्बोल्ट यहाँ है यार. कैलिफोर्निया, अगुलस, अलास्कन एंड ओयाशो. हाँ तो हो गया, कैलिफोर्निया करंट चाहिए था उनको. हाँ तो कैलिफोर्निया करंट इज गोइंग टू बी हियर, कूल कैलिफोर्निया करंट. This is going to be the cool California current, okay, and this is going to be the Alaskan current. This is a warm current, this is a cold current. Okay, CC. अगुलस यहाँ पे इंडियन ओशन में, we are looking for that. Done or what? No, ये वाला बताइए. Spring tides refer to the greatest difference in sea level at high and low tides. Lowest difference in sea level at high and low tides. No difference in sea level at high and low tides. Counteraction of gravitational pull of the sun to that of the moon. Yeah, absolutely correct. The greatest tidal range ever. So you're saying high tides are very high, low tides are very low. So you will see the greatest difference between high and low tides. Okay, very correct. And which of the following is not a which of the following ocean currents is not a cold ocean current? Canary, California, Kuroshio, Oyasho. Kuroshio is a warm current, absolutely, which hugs the coast of Japan and moves forward. That's the Kuroshio current. Okay. बाकी सारे cold currents है. What is the time gap in occurrence of two successive tides at given place? Two successive tides चाहिए, high or low. P 12 hours 26 minutes. Okay. And if you are assuming that you have a semi-diurnal current, okay, then you have 12 hours 26 minutes. Which one of the following ocean currents is a cold current? South Atlantic, Mozambique, East Australian, Caribbean. South Atlantic. South Atlantic is a cold current. Okay, famously South Atlantic is a cold current. Drift होता है वो. Drifts are usually less stronger than the ocean currents. ये हम कर चुके हैं ना? Which one of the following is known as a zone of sharp salinity change? Halocline. चलो जी, done here. Okay. And I don't need physical geography anymore. We are done with physical geography, people. So now we move on to India. We'll do India physical first and then move forward to India economic. Okay. The very first topic is going to be India location and extent. What you really see over here is maps. Be very careful about the maps. this is a very common question that they ask you. Even if you check out the PYQs, you'll see that the one thing that they keep on asking you is which state is sharing boundaries with which other state or which other country or something like that. Those are the common questions to expect over here. Okay, you should know India's extent, latitudinal and longitudinal extent. You should know the extremities from the west and the east and from the north and the south. Okay, एक और चीज जो उनको बहुत अच्छा लगता है पूछना is islands के ऊपर they love asking you questions, and they love asking you which channel goes between which group of islands and stuff like that. Okay, that is something you can be sure about. Abhi recently government hasn't done anything where they have increased the number of UTs or decreased the number of UTs or something like that. But if something like that figures in your current affairs, be mindful that you can expect that question over here. Okay, okay. Do I need to show you the map? Let's see the map once. Huh? These two are UTs, Ladakh and Jammu Kashmir. They start over there. Okay, followed by, then clearly you have Himachal Pradesh below over here. Okay, followed by Punjab a little to the west, which shares a boundary with Pakistan. Okay, international boundary with Pakistan. So does Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, Jammu and Kashmir and even Ladakh shares an international boundary with Pakistan. Okay, moving forward, here you have Delhi. Okay, mark the locations also. They love asking you this question where they ask you to arrange the places from west to east or from north to south. Okay, they used to love doing this about biospheres, but now they also do this in general cities. Okay, अभी तो वो general cities के लिए भी पूछ लेते हैं. One very recent question was they asked you Delhi, Kathmandu, Thimphu, and Dhaka. Okay, these are all four capitals. You can see all four capitals over here. Okay, you can make out where these four capitals are. You were supposed to tell the northernmost of these. So you are very close to Kathmandu and Thimphu. Delhi will still figure as the northernmost, but you're very, very close to Kathmandu and Thimphu. And for that, you need to actually see the map to know that the latitude is a little lower for Kathmandu and Thimphu. Okay, so be very careful of maps. They are very, very insistent on maps. Okay, clear? All right. Then just next to Himachal Pradesh, a little lower, you have Uttarakhand. Mark very clearly that Ladakh, Himachal, and Uttarakhand will share boundaries with Tibet. Okay, China, Tibet. Okay, they will share boundaries over here, and Uttarakhand also shares boundaries with Nepal. Clearly, no, the passes are used for all those religious places when we wish to go to Mount Kailash or we go to Mansarovar or something. Can I remember? This is the place that we go to. We land in Uttarakhand, and from there we take a pass to either go to Mansarovar or go to any other place, right? If you're going to Nepal or to China, this is the place to go to. Okay, Uttarakhand is the place to go to. Okay, then you come here, Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh happens to be that state which has the maximum number of neighbors as far as states are concerned. Okay, it shares one international boundary, one with Nepal. Okay, famous hai wo Gorakhpur ke baju wala area we are talking. Okay, so that is famously a boundary with Nepal. Okay, and next to this, if you are following the same trajectory, then you go to Bihar. And look at Bihar now. Look at this West Bengal wala part, how extended it is from north to south. It shares a boundary with Sikkim over here, which is sandwiched between Nepal and Bhutan. Okay, you can see very clearly, right? Sikkim is sandwiched between Nepal and Bhutan, and then followed by this part. You know, so the West Bengal part, the Darjeeling part, right? You're looking at that part. Sorry, which corridor? Chikarnir corridor, we call that. Yes, very good. Okay, and then from there, we move downwards. Okay, this is entire West Bengal. See the boundaries it shares with. It will have one international boundary with Bangladesh. Okay, this is famously called as the Radcliffe line. This one that distinguishes the Indian territory from the Bangladesh territory is called as the Radcliffe line. Okay, before the Bangladesh War of Independence in 1971, this place used to be East Pakistan, right? So clearly this line and this line is famously called as the Radcliffe line. Okay, the boundary that we have with Pakistan. All right, okay. Moving forward, we say this is West Bengal over here, and then Jharkhand, jo Bihar ka hi part tha, it used to be a part of Bihar, and then now it is over here. Okay, I'll go to northeast later, huh? And then from here down we go to Odisha. Okay, next to Odisha you have Chhattisgarh, which has boundaries with Jharkhand, with Uttar Pradesh, and with Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra, Odisha. Okay, so this is once again Chhattisgarh is, you have to go after states that share boundaries with lots of other states or share boundaries with just one state or something. Okay, that is where your questions usually come from. where if the state is sharing boundaries with multiple states or if it shares boundary with just one or two states. And that's a huge unusual thing. Okay. So you're mostly asked unusual things. So from there you move on to Madhya Pradesh. See this part of Uttar Pradesh which lies over here. It's part of this Madhya Pradesh wala part. Hai na? It is that part completely goes inside Madhya Pradesh. Okay. And then of course just below Haryana you will find Rajasthan. Okay, which shares once again which shares an international boundary with Pakistan. Okay, and then below Rajasthan you have Gujarat. Okay, and Gujarat has this is the Gulf of Kutch, this is the Gulf of Khambat, and this part, this portion is what we call as Surf Creek. Okay, so this is, if you say this entire thing is called as the Radcliffe boundary. This little portion will be called as the Surf Creek boundary. Okay, the Surf Creek boundary is the water boundary or the marine boundary between India and Pakistan. Okay, चलेगा. Moving forward, ये हमारे दो territories है. This is Daman and Diu and this is Dadra and Nagar Haveli. इसको उल्टा कैसे किया? अच्छा, this is Diu, this is Daman, and this is Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Okay, and you're saying then followed by Maharashtra over here. Okay, Maharashtra, then Andhra and Telangana over here. This is Telangana, Andhra, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Okay, this is what it looks like. Now we go to the northeastern part of India. This is very important. Sikkim, two international boundaries, three international boundaries, one with Nepal, the other with Bhutan, the next with Tibet or China. Okay, Tibet or China है यहाँ पे. So Sikkim has three international boundaries. Okay, and within the Indian states, it shares boundary with single state, which is West Bengal. ठीक है, cool enough? फिर move forward. Bhutan से आगे अरुणाचल प्रदेश को देखिए. Once again, three international boundaries. You say one with Bhutan, the other with China, and the next with Myanmar. Okay, that is Arunachal Pradesh. Three international boundaries. And within the states, how many boundaries does it share? One with Assam, and the second with Nagaland. Okay, come below. You say Assam. Assam को देख लीजिएगा properly. It is split in the middle by Meghalaya. Okay. Meghalaya splits the state into two parts. Okay, so Assam famously shares a boundary with Bangladesh at 2 points. One is the northern boundary, one is the southern boundary because of Meghalaya. Okay, because of the Meghalaya plateau. So here is another one boundary with Bangladesh, and here is another boundary with Bangladesh. Okay, so this is Assam for you. And all along the border of Assam, you have Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Okay, you have these three states: Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Okay, look at this wonderful state, Tripura, which is if there are 4 sides to this state, 3 of them are inside Bangladesh. Okay, 3 sides say it is surrounded completely by Bangladesh, and it has just 2 state boundaries, one with Assam, the other with Mizoram. Okay, this is very famous. Tripura का example आपको हमेशा पूछा जाता है because वो बहुत famously बांग्लादेश के अंदर ही जाके बैठ गया है. Okay, that is just how the shape is. At many places, अपने यहाँ कैसे normal तार लगाते हैं ना, you see those normal fencing, ऐसे छोटा सा general fence जैसे लगाते हैं. It is not always a guarded border because आपको if you go to very remote villages, those borders will not always be very guarded. So sometimes that fence is there, it exists. Sometimes it is broken and it doesn't exist, and that also happens. Okay, and people trade across Bangladesh and India and everything because we've never been honestly we've never been in a state of war with Bangladesh ever, right? We've had problems with Pakistan, but even then we continue our trading passages and everything. That's not a big deal for Pakistan also. Okay, because how are you going to support economy in those border villages? Are we good here, people? And then of course you have the Andaman Nicobar Islands over here in the Bay of Bengal and Lakshadweep Islands here in the Arabian Sea. Okay, okay, fine, good so far. Okay. All right, let's get a general idea about the location of India. Remember you had a question in your paper where we had discussed why Himalayas are so important for Indian climate. So clearly we know that the location of India is very, very responsible for whatever changes you get in the landform, say the climate, the soil types, natural vegetation. It's a very unique place, unique location, and a very unique climate. Okay, and India is one of the biggest beneficiaries of the southwest monsoon also. Oye, Tino, batein na kijiye. Okay. All right. And then, of course, the area is 3.28 million square kilometers. Please remember stats. Please do not ignore these stats because आपको पूछे जाता है ये. It has 2.4% of the world's area. It is the 7th largest country, which means कि ऊपर के 6 आपको by heart होने चाहिए. And वो order भी by heart होनी चाहिए. Okay. You should know these by heart. Which others, what do you say? Larger countries than India. Okay, so it is Russia, Canada, USA, China, Brazil, Australia, and then India. Okay, so India is the 7th largest country. You have Himalayas in the north for India, Indian Ocean in the south, Arabian Sea to the west, and Bay of Bengal to the east. Okay, These are the boundaries and the names of those boundaries we named after people who gave those awards. So Pakistan ke liye you have the Radcliffe Line and Sir Creek. This one is near this one is near Gujarat. This is both. I have a picture of the Radcliffe Line, don't I? See, no. See, this is the Radcliffe Line. This is what we call the Radcliffe Line. Okay. So this used to be West Pakistan. This used to be East Pakistan way back in 1947. Okay. Now this is Bangladesh, right? Okay. So that was how the Radcliffe Line went. This is Sir Creek. This red line is what we are calling Sir Creek. Okay. This is going to be an issue every few years or every time Pakistan keeps saying ki no, we follow the eastern border. So they want more water, water territory. Okay. Whereas India says no, we'll follow the Thalweg principle. We'll say that wherever you find the deepest channel within this water body, wherever you find the deepest channel, we are going to consider the dividing line as the line in between that channel. Okay. And then half and half to India and half Pakistan. Okay. That's how it goes. The reason why there is so much problem is because वो pushing के लिए, double easy के लिए, या फिर you have oil and gas potential. ऊपर से it's close to Karachi also. Karachi is a very important, how Bombay is important to us. Similarly, Karachi is very important to Pakistan. Okay. So वो कोई बॉम्बे के पास आएगा तो हम भी डर जाएंगे, right? तब वो कराची के पास हम जाएंगे तो वो भी डर जाएगा. That's the logic. Okay, here we are. The Bangladesh के साथ भी Radcliffe line ही होता है. China के साथ we have the Makman line. Okay, so that boundary is called as the Makman line. With Sri Lanka, the distinction is Gulf of Mannar, and you have the Gulf of Mannar over here and Park Strait. Can you see this? That is the dividing part for Sri Lanka. Okay, and Maldives के साथ clearly you have the Indian Ocean. कि Maldives is our closest marine neighbor. Okay, oceans में जो closest neighbor है, that is going to be Maldives. All right. नेक्स्ट इंडिया का लैटिट्यूडनल एक्सटेंट एट. अगर आप सिर्फ मेनलैंड कंसिडर करो, इफ यू आर कंसिडरिंग ओनली द मेनलैंड, देन यू से द लैटिट्यूडनल एक्सटेंट इज लैटिट्यूडनल, ऐसे ऊपर से नीचे. लैटिट्यूडनल एक्सटेंट इज गोइंग टू बी फ्रॉम 8 degrees to 38 degrees 4 minutes to 37 degrees 6 minutes. That is if just for the mainland. So you're saying यहाँ से लेके यहाँ तक का एक्सटेंट. हाँ, वो बात कर रहे हैं हम लोग. ओके, बट इफ यू कंसिडर द आइलैंड्स आल्सो, देन यू हैव टू गो फ्रॉम द निकोबार वाला पॉइंट. ओके, ग्रेट निकोबार वाला जो इंदिरा पॉइंट है, वहां से जाना पड़ेगा. एंड यू विल से 6 degrees 45 minutes north to 37 degrees 6 minutes north. ओके, दैट इज विद द आइलैंड्स. वंस अगेन रिमेंबर दीज फैक्ट्स, ये पूछे जाते हैं आपको. ओके, longitudinal extent 68 degrees 7 minutes east to 97 degrees 27 minutes east. Okay, that's the extent of us. Almost 30 degrees का extent है. And coastline is 6100 kilometers mainland पे consider करो तो, and if you consider both the mainlands as well as the islands, then the coastline will be 7517. Okay, the standard meridian for India is 82 degrees 30 minutes, meaning whatever the local time at 82 degrees 30 minutes would be considered the standard time for whole of the Indian territory. Okay, whichever longitude you are on, you will have to follow this particular time, the one that is the local time at 82 degrees 30 minutes. And what is the local time at 82 degrees 30 minutes? It is currently 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. over there. Okay, okay. The time zone that we use is UTC, meaning Universal Coordinated Time, or GMT. GMT used to be an old usage. UTC is the new usage. Okay, we say that is GMT or UTC plus 530 hours. Okay, when we say 530 hours, we say that whatever time is considered at the prime meridian, India will run 5.5 hours ahead of that time. Okay, because we lie to the east of the prime meridian. So obviously we will be ahead of it. So we say plus 530 hours. So whatever time is going on at, whatever time is held at GMT or UTC, you say add 5.5 hours to it and you will get the Indian time. Okay, so we are 5.5 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. The standard meridian will pass through 5 states. The sector for that is Avengers of MCU. You say Andhra, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Uttar Pradesh. Okay, and from Uttar Pradesh there is that place Mirzapur from which the line really passes. Okay, so that's how we remember it. ये वाला पार्ट कर लेते हैं, एक्सट्रीमिटीज कर लीजिए. नॉर्दर्न मोस्ट पॉइंट जो होता है उसको इंदिरा कोल कहते हैं. इट इज ऑन सियाचिन ग्लेशियर in the Karakoram range. Okay, so ideally we are considering Karakoram as part of India. All right, ठीक है. सदर्न मोस्ट पॉइंट जो है उसका जो मेनलैंड का पॉइंट है, अभी सदर्न मोस्ट में ऑब्वियसली विल हैव टू ऑप्शंस, वन इज द आइलैंड्स ऑप्शन, वन इज द मेनलैंड ऑप्शन. So mainland option is obviously going to be Cape Comorin, which is technically called Kanyakumari now, and maritime point, the one in the islands, is going to be Indira Point in Great Nicobar Islands. Okay, remember Andaman Nicobar Islands are slightly lower. Okay, western point is famously Guhar Moti in Sir Creek in Gujarat, and easternmost point is Kibikku in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, remember? Okay. So now this local time difference, if you're saying that the longitudinal extent of India is almost 30 degrees, okay, which means that Arunachal Pradesh is at least 2 hours, 15 twos are, no? 15 twos are 30. So if every 1 hour corresponds to 15 degrees rotation, then 2 hours will correspond to 30-degree rotation. So you're saying Arunachal Pradesh is at least 2 hours ahead, almost 2 hours ahead of Gujarat, okay? So that is the time difference that you need to remember. And Tropic of Cancer कहाँ से pass करता है वो देख लीजिए. Tropic of Cancer passes through 8 states. मेरा जैसे भी GMT का सट्टा है, but I prefer if you remember it the other way around. वो गरम चीज बदतमीज वाला. We go मानी गुजरात, राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश, छत्तीसगढ़, झारखंड, and then West Bengal, Tripura, and Mizoram. These are the 8 states through which the Tropic of Cancer passes. Okay, ठीक है. And ये वाला स्टेट याद कीजिएगा. इंडियन स्टेट विच शेयर्स इट्स बॉर्डर्स विद मैक्सिमम स्टेट्स विल बी, और स्टेट्स और यूटीज विल बी उत्तर प्रदेश विद हैज वन. टेल मी. ओके, 8 स्टेट्स एंड 1 यूटी. इट्स राइट सर. अच्छा. All right, we have one Indian state which shares its borders with maximum states or UTs, and that is going to be Uttar Pradesh. Okay, 8 states and 1 UT. अब वो हमने already देख लिया. चलो जी, this is important now. ये थोड़ा करना चाहिए. This is अभी islands set है आपके. Islands are ना एक बार ठीक से देख लीजिएगा. See, this is the Lakshadweep Islands. Okay, left में जो नजर आ रहा है आपको वो Lakshadweep Islands है. कैसे नजर आ रहा है आपको? Can you see that? Can you make it out at least? No. Because it is very. Anyways, look at this part. Okay, the Lakshadweep Islands are basically divided into 3 groups. Okay, girls. The Lakshadweep Islands are basically divided into 3 groups. You say you have the Amindiri Islands above. Okay, then you have the Kannannur or the Lakshadweep Islands. Okay, Kannannur उसका पुराना नाम हुआ करता था, from that place Kannur in Kerala. So they used to assume sovereignty for that particular kingdom or king, and that is why these islands are so famously called as Kannannur Islands. Okay, so Kannannur Islands or Lakshadweep Islands now, the new name is going to be Lakshadweep, and the Amindiri Islands above, the Lakshadweep Islands, and then lastly there is a very small island over here which is called as Minicoy. Okay, so Minicoy Island, right? So these are the 3 groups of islands in the Lakshadweep. Okay, Lakshadweep are famously coral deposits. Okay, how we consider Andaman Nicobar Islands are usually made up of volcanic islands. Whereas we consider Lakshadweep are coral deposits. Remember, we had also checked out that Lakshadweep has a large number of atolls also over there, right? बहुत सुंदर atolls है वहाँ पे. इसलिए तो most people prefer to go to Lakshadweep Islands for tourism. Very true. So it consists of Amindiri, Kannannur, and Minicoy Island. Of that, Minicoy happens to be the largest island. Among all individual islands in the Lakshadweep, Minicoy is the largest. Okay. Now there are 3 water bodies that we need to look at. ये मेरी responsibility है क्या? Okay, ठीक है. So there are 3 water bodies that we are interested in. We are looking at the 8-degree channel, the 9-degree channel, and the 11-degree channel. Okay. Let's begin with the 8-degree channel. You're saying the 8-degree channel will separate. Can you see the 8-degree channel over here? It separates Minicoy from Maldives. Okay, it will separate Minicoy and Maldives. If I see you, any one of you talking again, I'm going to send you out of the classroom. Irrespective of whatever I've been told, I really want to send people out of the classroom. Okay, so we say Minicoy Island separates Minicoy and Maldives are separated by the 8-degree channel. Okay, can you see this 9-degree channel over here? Okay, when you're calling them 8-degree channel, 9-degree channel, 10-degree channel, 11-degree channel, you're just saying that these are the latitudes. Okay, at 8 degrees, 9 degrees, 10 degrees, 11 degrees, and the water bodies at that particular channel will be called as 8-degree, 9-degree, 10-degree, 11-degree channels. Okay, so we are saying the 9-degree channel will separate Minicoy from the Lakshadweep Islands. Okay, Minicoy and लक्षद्वीप आइलैंड्स को सेपरेट करेगा एंड 11 डिग्री चैनल जो होता है वो लक्षद्वीप को एंड इनको सेपरेट करेगा अमिंदीवी आइलैंड्स को सेपरेट करेगा ओके इट विल सेपरेट लक्षद्वीप एंड और कननौर आइलैंड्स फ्रॉम अमिंदीवी आइलैंड्स ओके that is what 11-degree channel is. Now let's look at, this is good. You understood which channels are. You're saying 8 degrees an international water boundary. Okay. 9 degree will separate Lakshadweep from Lakshadweep. Sorry, Minicoy from Lakshadweep. And 11-degree channel will separate Lakshadweep and Mindivi Islands. Mindivi Islands to the north and Lakshadweep to the south. Okay. Next, look at what is this place? Andaman and Nicobar Islands. ये Andaman and Nicobar Islands को देखते हैं. Okay. ऊपर की तरफ can you see North Andaman, Middle Andaman, and South Andaman? Okay. So these are those 3 islands. Then there is a small water body over here which we call as the Duncan Passage. Okay. And after that you have the Little Andaman Islands over here. Okay. And then there is a 10-degree channel, clearly a large water body, and that separates the Andaman from the Nicobar Islands. Okay. So clearly you have Andaman Islands in the north and Nicobar Islands in the south, separated by this 10-degree channel. Okay, and after that you have all these Nicobar Islands. Okay, this is the group of Nicobar Islands. Is this good? And you have Indira Point over here. All right, okay, cool enough. All right, Andaman and Nicobar Islands famously volcanic in origin. Okay, Barren Island, India's only volcanic active volcano is found over here. This is Barren Island. Can you see Barren Island over here? That's Barren Island for you. Okay, this is Narcondam. Narcondam is another famous island over there. We have a dormant volcano over there. Okay, we don't, once again, you can neither touch the soil of Barren Island or Narcondam Island, but you can go in the waters. वहां पे आप जाके scuba diving कर सकते हो. You can do that. Okay, but you cannot touch that island. Though that is here at Narcondam at Barren Island. So there are proper charter tours, you know, government officiated charter tours that can take you, and they'll take you around and show you, see, this is Narcondam, see, this is Barren Island, and that is that. But you cannot actually go to that place. The only people who can go to that place is military, army, people who are responsible for forests and stuff like that, because you have a wildlife sanctuary over there. This place also has one very, how do you say? It is a threatened bird over here. Okay, it is called as the Narcondam hornbill. You will find it nowhere else in the world but here. Okay, so the Narcondam hornbill. So you are going after that bird also. There is that bird also over there. Okay. All right. The next, what do you have? Duncan Passage. See, this is important. You're saying that the 10-degree channel, this is the 10-degree channel, which will separate the Andaman Islands from the Nicobar Islands. And then clearly you have the, that is the 10-degree channel, and the Duncan Passage will separate the South Andaman from the Little Andaman. Okay. और कुछ करना है? नहीं. You guys can have a break for 5 minutes. Okay, people, settle down. 12th standard, we are back. We are going to discuss the coastlines by length. This is another important question. UPSC has asked you twice about this. So please pay good attention. You say among all the coastlines of India, you have those of the union territories and those of the states. Okay. So among the states, Gujarat has the longest coastline, but if you consider within the states as well as the union territories, obviously Andaman Nicobar has it. Okay. So Andaman Nicobar has the coastline about 1962 kilometers का coastline है, followed by Gujarat, which is around 1200 kilometers, followed by Andhra Pradesh, which is 973, then Tamil Nadu, and you'll have to remember this. Okay, just remember. I don't know what strata you're going to use, but you'll have to remember this. See, GAT to anyways GAT banta hai, right? GAT becomes GAT anyways. So Andaman and Nicobar Islands, you'll remember, right? It has the longest coastline, followed by GAT GAT, then MK okay. You say Maharashtra, Kerala, Odisha, Karnataka. Okay, so वैसे कुछ याद रखिएगा. I don't know how you want to remember it, but remember this: Andhra, Gujarat, followed by Andhra, followed by Tamil Nadu, then Maharashtra, then Kerala, then Odisha, then Karnataka. Okay. And then Goa and Daman Diu are slotted together. You usually slot Goa and Daman Diu together. And that is some 160, followed by West Bengal. No matter what you think that West Bengal has a great delta or something, but the coastline is really short. Okay. The coastline is going to be really short. And followed by the Lakshadweep Islands and then Puducherry. Okay. That is the general order. The general idea is being asked which state or UT has the longest coastline, or then you're given 4 options, and among them you'll have to choose whichever has the longest coastline. Okay, that's the general option. So please remember, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, if you're generally asked which state or UT has the longest coastline, and if you're specifically asked about a state, then that's going to be Gujarat. Okay, okay. This is another important thing where you discuss India and its neighbors. Okay, this is India's coastline shared according to boundaries. Okay, पीछे पीछे जाके खड़े हो जाइए. So India and its neighbors in the sense of whatever boundary you share with the neighboring country. Okay. अब उस हिसाब से if you're going to go by that standard, क्या हो गया? हाँ जी. And please don't talk when you're standing behind. I'm supposed to just take a picture and send it on the staff group if you are standing behind and still cracking jokes. Okay, okay. So the neighboring countries here in the option in the how do you say in the order in which we are going to share the longest boundary with is going to be Bangladesh, followed by China, followed by Pakistan, then Nepal, then Myanmar, then Bhutan, then Afghanistan. Okay, the satta for that is going to be Bachpan MBA. You say BA for Bangladesh, CH for China, PA for Pakistan, N for Nepal. That will be Bachpan. And MBA is going to be Myanmar, Bhutan, and Afghanistan. Okay, that is the satta that you will remember. Yep, this is definitely asked, so please pay good attention to that. Okay, these are the countries with the longest border. So if you are going to say India shares its longest border with Bangladesh, followed by China, followed by Pakistan. Okay, and then Nepal, then Myanmar, then Bhutan, then Afghanistan. Okay, and this is the number of states or UTs that share the border with Bangladesh. It will share Bangladesh shares a border with West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Okay. So Bangladesh, China, and Nepal have the maximum shared borders with Indian states. Okay, 5 states will share borders with them. Pakistan shares borders with 4. Jammu Kashmir, क्यों? लद्दाख के साथ भी तो शेयर करता है ना? Wait a minute, huh? हाँ, you will have Pakistan also shares with 5 now, considering we changed our territories. So this will be J&K, Ladakh, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. So we are saying Bangladesh, China, Pakistan, and Nepal will share borders with 5 states and union territories. And then followed by, of course, you have Myanmar will share borders with 4, Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Bhutan with another 4, Sikkim, West Bengal, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and Afghanistan with just 1, Ladakh. Okay. This another thing is going to be time zones. This is important because once again, you've been asked a question. Okay. आपको पता होना चाहिए, you should know where India lies. Where is India? UTC plus 530 hours, right? That is where India is. And Sri Lanka will share the same border. So we are saying, or will share the same time zone, not same border. It will share the same time zone. So India and Sri Lanka will both be, pata? My volume should be greater. अच्छा, zoom करूँ. Oh, sorry. Okay. We are saying India and Sri Lanka should both be on the same time zone. You are saying UTC plus 530 hours. Okay. Now just one half an hour behind that is going to be Pakistan UTC plus 5 hours, and half an hour behind that is going to be Afghanistan UTC plus 430 hours. Okay. Okay. Please remember, Nepal just runs ahead of us by 15 minutes. So Nepal is, if India is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of UTC, then Nepal will be 5 hours 45 minutes ahead of UTC. Okay, this is a very unusual time zone to share. Okay, usually most countries will have time zones based on a difference of half an hour. Okay, 1 hour and half an hour. Okay, this 45 minutes time zone is a very weird thing to have. Okay, it's very unusual. And then lastly, you have Bhutan and Bangladesh in the time zone of UTC plus 6 hours. Okay, is this good? And these are the Indian states which share maximum international boundaries. These are the following states. You say West Bengal, Arunachal Pradesh, and Sikkim. West Bengal will share the border with Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal. Arunachal with China, Myanmar, Bhutan. And Sikkim with Nepal, Bhutan, and China. Okay, okay, you good so far? That is your question. You can sit if you can answer. State of Assam shares borders with how many other countries and Indian states respectively? Hey, you too, you also go and stand behind. Stand on this side, I don't mind. Yes. A, two countries and six Indian states. Two countries and seven Indian states. No? If I'm only trying to verify and confirm. Hey, you both go and stand behind. And you both can sit. But just come and sit over here. Two countries and we'll count. We have a lot of time. We say two countries. Which are those two countries going to be? One is going to be Bhutan, clearly shares a border with Bhutan, and then another border with Bangladesh. That is Assam for you, right? Assam will share a border with Bhutan and Bangladesh. Let's count the number of states. Okay, we begin from the leftmost side. We are saying West Bengal is one of those states. Okay, followed by Arunachal. Okay, and then Nagaland, then Manipur, then Mizoram, then Tripura, and Meghalaya. Okay, so you have seven states. You have seven states that are surrounded, that Assam is surrounded by, and two international borders. Okay, two countries and seven states. Okay, you realize what kind of question UPSC tends to ask you. This is good if you have a map for reference. When you're sitting inside an exam with no map for reference, this is going to be very difficult to visualize. So for that reason, you need to really pore over these maps and commit them to your memory. Okay, okay. My option is going to be two countries and seven Indian states. है ना बाबा? हाँ. Which statement is not correct with reference to Andaman and Nicobar Islands? Climate is humid, tropical coastal climate. Maximum rainfall occurs between March and April. Andaman and Nicobar Islands are separated by a 10-degree channel, which is 150 kilometers wide. And islands are inhabited by Negrito tribes. You know the answer to this question? दिख नहीं रहा है. आगे आके खड़े हो जाइए, यहाँ पे खड़े हो जाइए. I don't mind. ठीक है. B, maximum rainfall occurs. Very good answer. First of all, the climate is going to be humid tropical coastal climate. Okay, Andaman Nicobar Islands. It's an island. What kind of climate do you expect? Maritime? Clearly, it's going to get a coastal climate. Okay, and it is going to be humid tropical. It will not be equatorial because you are a little above. You're somewhere at 6 degrees and 7 degrees. So clearly, it won't be this, but you will get that typical humid tropical climate. Okay, that is definitely going to be the climate. Okay, and the kind of vegetation is going to be tropical rainforests. Okay, that kind of vegetation you're going to get. The maximum rainfall occurs usually, you will get rainfall from both kinds of monsoons. You will get one from southwest monsoon, right? The one that goes all the way. This is the one that goes over here, right? You're saying you're looking at this monsoon. Okay. You're saying this is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So it will get rain from the southwest monsoon, the Bay of Bengal branch. Okay. That will also give you rainfall. And when the northeast monsoons return, it will get rainfall from there also. Okay. So it will get rainfall from June to September due to the southwest monsoon and from October to December because of the northeast monsoon. So anytime you ever plan to, this is a very famous thing. Na? If you're planning to go to Andaman and Nicobar Islands, you've been told ki go from January to April. That is the season during which you go. If you wish to really visit the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, then the tourist season is the dry season, or the peak tourist season is going to be from Jan to April. That is the time you visit Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Because rest of the time it is raining, and not just raining, it is pouring. Okay, this is nothing compared to what you will feel in Andaman and Nicobar. Okay, so clearly the rainfall is really high over there. It has almost 6 months of rainfall. Okay, not this one. Where were we? Here. So we are saying the second statement is wrong. Uh, what about this? Andaman and Nicobar Islands are separated by 10-degree channel. Yes. And the channel is 150 kilometers wide. Once again, this is something you had to verify. Okay. Because this information was not given anywhere. We had to verify this information that it is indeed 150 kilometers wide. So Andaman and Nicobar is separated by the 10-degree channel, and islands are inhabited by Negrito Indians, Negrito tribes. Yes, they are. Let's get an introduction to all the tribes of Andaman and Nicobar and we'll be good. We are not looking at Surfreak. We are not looking at this. And Radcliffe also nahi chahiye. These are the tribes. We are looking at the Negrito tribes. So basically you will get two kinds of tribes. The Negrito tribes, the ones that are, that are of dark complexion, and the ones that are of look a little East Asian, that kind of people, the Mongoloid tribes. Okay, we are looking at two kinds of tribes. So the Negrito tribes will have the Great Andamanese group, or the Onge tribes, or the Jarawa tribes, or the Sentinelese. You've heard stories about all of these tribes, right? The Jarawa, they wear those orange colored clothes and stuff like that. The Sentinelese are considered a very, very dangerous tribe because you don't approach them. They do not allow outsiders to approach you. There have been incidents where they've killed people over there. Remember that guy, some guy who wanted to, and this is a very recent story. He wanted to go and preach religion to those people. What famous story. And then he was writing a diary. So they once tried to push him away. They tried to, push him out into the ocean. He went there. I don't know what fate runs in circles, but he came back again and he was killed by them. Then that is just how it is. They are supposed to be a dangerous tribe. Okay, and we recognize their rights that they are to be left alone. Even the Indian military or the Indian government or administration doesn't try to interfere in their lifestyle. Okay. So these are those people, and then the Mongoloid tribes are going to be the Shompen tribe. We've discussed the Shompen tribe earlier in some sort of maybe during question answer sessions. I have discussed the Shompen tribe. I've told you that this is a problem because the reason why the question was even asked is because the Indian government started with the Great Nicobar project, and that affects the Nicobar Island region. Okay, and these people live in the forest. Normally, what happens is most of these people usually live on the edges. They live on the coastal. They live in the coastal regions. Most of the tribes. Okay, these are different because they live within the forest. Okay, now if if the government is going to try and build a huge project over there, where they have a huge port coming in and a housing society and urban civilization and all that sort of thing, then clearly you're going to affect the ecology of that place. Okay, if the ecology is affected, then there are environmental concerns, obviously. And how are you going to rehabilitate these people? If you're going to take away their habitat, where are you going to put them into? Where are they going to go? Okay. So you have the Shompen and the Nicobarese people over there. Those are the Mongoloid tribes of Andaman and Nicobar. Okay. Okay. So your option over here is going to be this. Only this is the incorrect statement. Rest of them are all correct. In which among the following states in India, the sun rays are never perpendicular? Your options are Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Manipur, and Rajasthan. Bihar, just Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Manipur, and Rajasthan. Bihar and Manipur, absolutely correct. See, the logic here is that the sun's rays are always perpendicular within the tropics. Okay, so from 23 degrees north to 23 degrees south, the sun's rays will always be perpendicular. On some day or another, they are going to be perpendicular. Okay, but they will always be inclined outside the tropics. Okay, so if there is any place that lies outside the Tropic of Cancer or outside the Tropic of Capricorn, those places will never get a perpendicular sun ever in their lives. Okay, that is the general idea. Okay, that the tropics mark the limit of the overhead sun. So you will always get inclined rays on any other day, of the year outside the tropics. Okay, that's the idea. So which states lie outside the tropics? We know that two states are those through which the Tropic of Cancer passes. So you are saying those states are Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. Okay, clearly through Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, the Tropic of Cancer passes. So Bihar and Manipur lie to the north of it, don't they? Clearly, this is Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. You're saying that this is where the Tropic of Cancer passes through. Bihar and Manipur clearly lie to the north of it. So the sun's rays are always going to be inclined over there. You will never get a perpendicular sun in Bihar or Manipur, okay? Or anywhere above the Tropic of Cancer and below the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay. So my option is going to be, we say Bihar and Manipur will never have that. So we are going with 1 and 3. Okay, that's the option. I have no clue why this question was asked, but it is asked, so we are going to answer it. Where is the Central Institute of Buddhist Studies situated? Blue shirt, answer the question. I think you just guessing where it is. Almora, Gangtok. Oh, Leh Ladakh. Leh Ladakh is where you stand up, sir. Go and help your friends. Let's make a wall. Yeah, honorable people. We are going with Leh Ladakh. Okay, that is where the institute is. It is associated with some Sanskrit college in Varanasi. And that is where this is. I have once again, normally now I can guess where this question usually comes from. It has been associated with some form or another with news. The only news I found about this in that year was related to Sonam Wangchuk. So I am wondering if it came from there. But UPSC doesn't go into controversies usually. It goes into environmental concerns, it goes into political matters, but not usual, political controversies in our country. So I am wondering where that question came from, but it was here. So we are answering it. Okay. We'll go with Leh Ladakh. Huh? Which one among the following is the northernmost geographical location? New Delhi, Kathmandu, Thimphu, Dhaka. These are four capitals. You're saying these are four capitals. This is Delhi over here, Kathmandu, Thimphu, and Dhaka. Huh? You clearly know this. Now, if you're not even looking at the map, you should be able to understand that Delhi is a little higher. Okay. Clearly, Kathmandu is closer to that Lucknow, Bihar curve. Okay. And then Bangladesh, you don't need to consider Bangladesh at all because it is way lower than the rest of them, right? Bangladesh is clearly lower than Bangladesh is over here. Even if Dhaka was anywhere over here, it would not have run the competition. It would not have been part of the competition. Okay, it would have been running a very distant second, even if it was somewhere over here. And Dhaka is closer to this part clearly. Okay, so we are not worried about Dhaka. Our only concern is Delhi, Kathmandu, and Thimphu. Okay, those are our concerns. And Delhi is pretty high. I'll tell you the latitudes. Delhi is at 28.6 degree latitude. Thimphu is at 27.4 and Kathmandu at 27.7. I told you, right? Just a degree's difference, just a difference of a degree. But that is how the question was. Okay. But it's a good question to expect because you are talking about four, capitals within this region. Within a map, you usually have to see every day. Okay. So it should work out. We are saying Delhi is the one that is northernmost over here. In January 2020, the administration of which of the following union territories has been merged together? Daman and Diu and Puducherry, Puducherry and Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Puducherry and Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Which one? Oh, okay. We'll wait until that thing catches up. Why is it not catching up? Whose internet is lacking, your or mine? Mine is not lacking, obviously. हाँ, मैं नीचे हो जाऊँ। ओ, आंसर क्या होना चाहिए आप बता रहे हो? नहीं, मैं बताऊँ, ये वाला। दादरा एंड Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Huh? The reason we did this in the middle of COVID. Remember, in the middle of COVID lockdowns, the very first lockdown that we had, we just announced it in Jan 2020. The reason that the government gave was for administrative convenience, so that you replicate the same administrative policies in both states, both union territories, and you have essentially the, how do you say, the same. You reduce bureaucratic costs also, because now you are including everything within one union territory, so the bureaucratic costs are also lowered, meaning you don't have two different offices to look at one single union territory, right? You have one single office to look at one union territory. So the bureaucracy costs involved are also a little less. And they said that public service delivery options are also going to be greater with that. That's the option that the government gave us, and we went with it. Okay? Okay? Good question. Which one of the following countries has the maximum time difference from Greenwich Mean Time? What is India's timing? GMT plus 530 hours, right? What is that of Sri Lanka? Same, plus 530 hours. What is Nepal? 545 hours. What is Bhutan? Which is farther? Bhutan and Bangladesh both have the time zone as GMT plus 6 hours. So we'll go with Bhutan. Okay. Please remember that. Huh? Tropic of Cancer does not pass through which one of the following states? Manipur, West Bengal, Gujarat, Jharkhand. हाँ हाँ, मणिपुर से नहीं पास करेगा वो, it won't pass through Manipur. You are saying the Tropic of Cancer does not pass through Manipur. Okay, the states that is passes through are Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. What did I miss? Jharkhand, and then West Bengal, Tripura, Mizoram. Okay, those are those states. Manipur se nahi pass karega. Which one of the following Indian states does not share international border with two or more countries? Arunachal, Assam, Mizoram, Tripura. Hmm? Can you answer this question? I'll let the person who answers this question sit down. Mizoram? Tripura, it is going to, I remember I just told you Tripura is surrounded by 3 sites by Bangladesh. I said the fencing is also very low. People can just come and go anywhere they want because we share that huge border. The fence sometimes exists, doesn't exist. You can trade with them, marry them, do general normal business there. Okay. So Tripura, it is famously going to be Tripura. Let's look at Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and Mizoram because they are in the question. We'll look at those. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and Mizoram. This is Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. How many countries does it share a border with? One with Bhutan, the other with China, and next with Myanmar. You know, it shares a border with Myanmar also. Right? That is the Myanmar border. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam. What does Assam share a border with? Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. At least two countries. It shares a border with this. And Mizoram, it shares a border with Bangladesh on this side and with Myanmar on that side. So at least two countries it shares a border with. Okay. Tripura is the only one that shares only a border with Bangladesh. The rest of the states are going to be Assam and Mizoram. This is for you to find out. Consider the following state places in India: Itanagar, Imphal, Agartala as well. You have to give the correct sequence, correct chronological order of the above places in terms of sunrise time. Now, this is a question for you three. Anybody who answers this, give me. I don't even need you to arrange the places in whichever fashion or order. Just tell me what is the logic behind it. How are you going to arrange the places? In which direction are you arranging the places? From east to west. Sit down. So that is the sunrise time. Okay. Clearly, that is how the sunrise time works. You say the sunrise happens towards the east. So if you're looking for places that are going to go in order of the sunrise, you start with the easternmost place and move forward to the western places. Okay. Now tell me. Itanagar, Imphal, Agartala and Eswal. सेकेंड वाला बोल रहे हैं आप. इम्फाल से शुरू करेंगे आप. कहाँ से शुरू करें? हाँ, वेरी गुड वेरी गुड वेरी गुड वेरी गुड वेरी गुड. You are saying it is going to be Imphal, then Itanagar, then Eswal, and then Agartala. Let's see. Itanagar, Imphal, Agartala, Eswal. Okay. Okay. See here, you are starting with the easternmost part. Okay. So you are going with Imphal. Then you're going with Itanagar, right? Then with Eswal, and then with Agartala. Okay. Is this clear? Well, I don't mind sending you back. Another question. Arrange the following. This has to be easy actually. Arrange the following cities according to their locations from west to east. If you can answer any of these questions, I'm letting you sit down. दिख नहीं रहा है आपको? C for Calcutta. C for Calcutta. C for Kochi. No. क्या क्या है? C. C बोल रहे हो? आपको लगता है रांची से शुरू करेंगे? वेस्ट में सबसे रांची. अरे यार, you don't watch cricket or what? You don't know where MS Dhoni is from, where Jharkhand lies. What on earth are you people doing? Which sport do you watch, sir? Then you are starting from west to east. तो west में सबसे ज्यादा क्या lie करता है? What lies to the western part? So let's try to find locations for states. Tell me, where does Bilaspur lie? Oh, got it. Why you are saying? Oh, there is a place called Bilaspur in Himachal, but we are not talking of that Bilaspur. We are clearly talking about, the one in Chhattisgarh. Tell me where Bilaspur lies, people. We are saying Chhattisgarh. Okay. Where does Jodhpur lie? Rajasthan. Where does Bhopal lie? And where does Ranchi lie? Jharkhand. Now are we okay? We are starting with Jodhpur. Then we'll move to Bhopal. Then Bilaspur. And then Ranchi. You sit down over here. And no talking. Tell me this question. Sunrise in eastern Arunachal Pradesh would be about how many hours before the sun? 2 hours, almost 2 hours, because there's a longitudinal difference of almost 30 degrees. So 30 degrees equates to 2 hours. 15 degrees for one 15-degree rotation takes about an hour. So a 30-degree rotation would take about 2 hours. Okay. So we are going for 2 hours over here. Which one of the following states in India has the longest coastline? ये वाला, इन चारों में से. Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, West Bengal. We said Andaman and Nicobar Islands had the greatest shoreline. Then we had Gujarat, then Andhra, then Tamil Nadu. Very good. Then Maharashtra, then Kerala, then Odisha, then Karnataka. That was the way it went. So we are going with Tamil Nadu. So we are saying Tamil Nadu has the longest coastline and then arrange the rest of those four in longest coastlines. Okay, good. Odisha, then Karnataka, and then West Bengal. West Bengal has a very short coastline, supposedly. Okay, so that is where it goes. So we are saying Tamil Nadu. Over here, Tamil Nadu has the longest coastline among the following options. The Indian Standard Time meridian, 82.5 degrees east, passes through a number of states in India. Which one of the following sets of states is correct in this respect? Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Andhra. Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, no, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. And Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Andhra, Chhattisgarh. D for Delhi. D for Delhi. You're saying D option होना चाहिए. हाँ जी, हाँ जी. Correct है, correct है. You are saying our satta is Avengers of MCU. है ना? That was the satta. So you say Andhra, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh. Uttarakhand के तो सारे options हटा ही दो आप. We don't want that Uttarakhand polluting our thing over here. मतलब it is just confusing you, right? You don't want that. अब यहाँ पर आप झारखंड को नहीं include कर सकते, right? You cannot take in Jharkhand. So the only option you have is going to be Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Andhra, and Chhattisgarh. Oh, you Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh is being a little confusing. So just अरे लेकिन सब सारे दिए ना उन्होंने, अभी हम उनसे जबरदस्ती पांचवा तो नहीं मांग सकते. वो तो चार वो तो एनीवेज आपको चार स्टेट्स का कॉम्बिनेशन दे रहा है ना. They're giving you any four states. You have to choose which of these four states are correct. So we'll, even if Madhya Pradesh isn't there, it does pass through the rest of the four states. So we'll have to go with that. लो जी, the newly formed. ये ढोल किस चीज का बज रहा है? अच्छा, पालकी कल हो गया. हाँ, let's not get stuck in it. The newly formed state of Telangana is surrounded by 5 states, 4 states, 6 states, 3 states. अब वो तो तेलंगाना जब बना था तब का क्वेश्चन है ये, आपको इतना परेशान होने की जरूरत नहीं. We'll just go to Telangana. हाँ, this is Telangana for you. चलो let's count the number of states. यहाँ से शुरू करते हैं. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We are saying 4 states. Okay, we say Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra. There was a time when we thought Odisha was over here. Some maps will show you that Odisha is pretty close, but no, it is separated by this Chhattisgarh Andhra border. Okay, there is no way Telangana and Odisha are connected. Okay, please remember. So, matlab, by borders, they are not directly connected by borders. They do not share an actual border. We'll have Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Andhra. We'll go with 4 states. The answer is going to be 4 states. Okay, people? Um, Give me a moment. Can see this? Good. Okay. The next topic for the next, I'll just give you a general intro of what we can expect from this topic. If we want, we'll begin with the first division. We are looking at the next topic is going to be after the location and extent, we go for the physiographic divisions of India. Okay. So you are, when we say physiographic divisions, you will look at the northern mountains, you will look at the North Indian plains, obviously. And then, of course, the peninsular plateau. You will have the eastern and western coastal plains, the islands. You're looking at all this. Okay. You're looking at the various features. Okay. Uh, from this particular question, you can expect everything within Indian physiography. Okay, you are sometimes given mountains to arrange, mountain ranges to arrange from the west to east or from to the north to south. ये बहुत favorite question है. This you will be questioned about specific parts से about the Western Ghats. उनको बोलिए थोड़ा सामने देखें. Okay, so we are talking about different parts in India and the features related to those parts. Okay, we are going to talk about those. So you can expect actually everything under the sun that happens within the Indian physiography to be asked in this topic. Okay, and they do not spare any effort in asking you the weirdest and most complex questions possible. Okay, go for proper nouns. They love proper nouns. So if you are calling, so for example, in the Karnataka plateau, you will find two different parts. Okay, for example, if say Sahyadris are called as, the Western Ghats are called as Sahyadris in the northern part, in Maharashtra, Konkan, and Karnataka region. They are famously called as the Sahyadris, and in the southern part, they are called by different other names. Okay, so they will question you about Sahyadris. They'll question you about Malna. They'll question you about different. They'll go after proper nouns, proper names. The plateaus, they'll ask you to arrange, even within the central India plateau, they'll ask you to arrange the plateaus from west to east or from east to west. So please remember these. Okay, this is a map-based entire. What do you say? This entire topic is completely based on maps. You need to, when I say you need to pour yourself over these maps and commit them to your memory, I actually mean that. Okay, you don't. It won't happen in a day, but the more you do that, it will be good for you. Okay, so please, if you cannot commit that map to your memory, there will be very little option for in this particular chapter. Okay, you can remember the features and everything that might work for you, but this has to be done with maps, because sometimes they'll even ask you to, you can't just remember that a single pass belongs to a single state. You'll have to remember the picture. People pictures are remembered more easily, right? You remember movies, don't you? Don't you remember a movie far better than a lecture that goes on? It is not just because the movie is interesting. You will even remember a documentary as long as it is told in a picture format, because pictures are well committed to your memory. Okay, if you hear something, that is going to be even worse, but if you write down something, that you'll remember the best. Okay, that's the general idea. So please remember, look into the maps properly, read the maps properly. If there are passes to see, if there are mountains to see, जैसे यहाँ पर नजर आ रहा है आपको, वैसे properly देखा कीजिए इसको. Okay, so this is important. We are going to look at all these physiographic divisions, and then later the smaller parts of it, we'll look at the northeastern mountains and the general features about it. Okay, once again, they will ask you, this particular range belongs to Punjab Himalayas, Kumaon Himalayas, you're looking at Sikkim Himalayas or the Eastern Himalayas. So you're going to be asked such kind of questions. Pir Panjal, where does Pir Panjal lie? Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas, or Shivalik ranges? Where does it lie? So you'll have to be prepared for that. Or then, what are the Middle Himalayas or the Lesser Himalayas called in different states? So that is another question. Where are they called as Dauladhar? Where are they called Nagtiba? So these are the questions you can expect. Okay. Once again, go after proper nouns. There will be a lot of proper nouns, and UPSC tends to question you on all these proper nouns. Okay. I told you the same for world geography also. They love asking you about places. For example, the Sahara region. I told you the other day, right? Sahel is another part of it. So they'll question you, what is Sahel? So then you have to answer it's the lower part, the southern part of the Sahara region. Okay. So these kind of questions you can certainly expect. All right. So you're looking at the various mountains. You'll get the features of these mountains. And after that, you will have to see this kind of thing from west to east. How do you arrange these subdivisions of these mountains? And each of these mountains will have their own features. Okay. So remember tribes that belong to a certain mountain or something. You'll have to remember that. Or if certain places belong to a certain mountain, a mountain range or a part of or a subdivision or a section of the mountains, that is also something you'll have to remember. Okay. Especially if they are this part, if they are divided by rivers, if this is the extent of the rivers, if the boundaries of those subsections or subdivisions are decided by the rivers that flow through it, then that is also something that they tend to ask you. Okay. After the mountains, this is one thing. You go to the peaks. These are the different peaks, and then you go through these passes. Okay, so I don't expect you to remember how tall the peaks are or anything, but I definitely expect you to remember the passes. Okay, because passes is something they definitely question you on. And then the passes will be asked in a way whether this pass connects region A to region B. That is one question to ask. Whether the pass lies in a certain state, that is another question to ask. And if you wish to go from India, say to Tibet, which of these passes will do or which won't do? Okay, that kind of a question can be asked. So these are the kind of questions you can get on passes. Okay, after that, you go to the Great Indian Plains. Okay, Great Indian Plains is relatively easy. That is not very tough over there. You will just have to remember these two things: chos and doabs and chars and bills and stuff like that. Okay, just these proper nouns you need to remember. And yeah, you'll need to remember this order. Like, you have the Bhabar Plains followed by the Terai Plains, followed by the Pangar, followed by the Bhadar. That is how the order from the Himalayan foothills to the river goes. Okay, so you'll have to remember the order in which these plains go. That is something that a Peninsula Plateau once again has a lot of proper names, and you will have to name all of them. Okay, you will get multiple divisions, multiple subdivisions within that also. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make you understand that geography is vast. Indian geography is even more vast, but they tend to ask you questions. So you'll have to pay good attention and remember that. Commit it to your memory. Okay. And then the features of all of these within the, whether it is the Deccan Plateau or the Central Highlands. See, I told you, right? Malnad. So you're saying Malnad or Medak. So you're saying if the Karnataka Plateau is divided into two types, the Malnad and the Medak, you'll have to, they'll ask you, what is Malnad? What is Medan? And you'll have to answer that this is Malnad, this is Medak. Northern uplands, hilly part is called as the Malnad. And I'm probably mispronouncing it, but Medan is the rolling plains, the flattish rolling plains in Karnataka. Those will be called as the Medak. Okay. And these various mountain peaks, can you make these out? Highest peak in Aravallis, Vindhyas, Satpuras. Even if you do not remember their heights, you will have to remember the names. Naam yaad rakhne padenge, sare peaks ke. You'll have to remember all the peaks. Yours will remember, that is the tallest in southern India. Okay. And then, of course, the northeastern plateau, there is not much to ask over here. And then these mountain passes from the central part of India, okay, or in the Western Ghats. You will get these different passes in the Western Ghats. Those you're supposed to remember. They ask you to arrange these passes from north to south or from south to north. That is the kind of thing, okay. That is something they do. For the Himalayan passes, they'll usually go from west to east or east to west. Or they'll simply question you about the ranges in which these passes lie, or the states that connect these passes. Okay, which states or which countries are connected through these passes. For the Peninsular Plateau passes, they'll simply ask you to arrange them from north to south. Okay, or sometimes even question you over whether these passes connect which places. That is the kind of question you can ask. Indian desert doesn't get a lot of questions. Once again, go after Marusthali, Bagar, proper nouns. I repeat myself, go after proper nouns. Do not forget what proper nouns are. Okay. So if Marusthali is a proper noun, you'll have to remember what Marusthali means. Okay. The coastal plains of India, mein, as long as you can make a comparison, we are good. There is not much to see over there. And lastly, the islands. Yahan pe you'll have to remember a few peaks and everything. Because it is mentioned in the NCRT book, they prefer to ask you questions about it. Okay, that is something they definitely do. Let's look at the map of India once, and then we can stop this. Sorry, Western Ghats is? I can't understand your question. Western Ghats is pretty continuous. Eastern is pretty discontinuous. वेस्टर्न नए भी है थोड़े, ईस्टर्न थोड़े पुराने हैं, काफी पुराने हैं, इसलिए थोड़े इरोडेड है, हाइट में कम है, और रिवर्स आते हैं बड़े सारे. ऑल द वे वेस्टर्न घाट्स इज अ वाटर डिवाइड, राइट? सो क्लियरली देयर आर शॉर्ट स्विफ्ट रिवर्स दैट मूव टू द वेस्टर्न कोस्टल प्लेन्स and longer rivers that traverse the entire peninsular plateau to go all the way through the eastern ghats and cut through them. So they are very highly eroded, highly dissected hills है वो. And अभी बहुत पुराने भी हो गए तो clearly थोड़ा height भी, relief भी थोड़ा कम है उसका, Eastern Ghats ka, if you're looking at like that way. Eastern Ghat is discontinuous because it is highly eroded and dissected. Because it is also pretty old. Eastern Ghat is way older than the Western Ghats. Western Ghats is what, like 100, 150 million years before or something like that. So Eastern Ghats are way older than that. In Kerala, you have? You think those are broken because of the passes? No, those are generally broken. यहाँ पर you find this is usually discontinuous and usually broken. Eastern Ghats are more discontinuous, more broken, more eroded, less relief. That is just how Eastern Ghats work. Any mountain is going to have passes because you will have ways to get through, right? That is how the local tribals used to travel earlier. And now currently we are just making them into roads because we need to get from point A to point B. That's how we are going from Bombay to Pune. We are on different sides of the Western Ghats. So we go through the pass, the one that collapsed just 2 days ago, right? So we are saying that. You know, there was a huge landslide which they cleared in record time recently. कौन सा घाट? नहीं, नो घाट. Okay. कहाँ से देख लेंगे? ये वाला मैप देख लीजिए यार. Okay, when you look at the northern mountains ना, you're talking of Himalayas basically. Okay, तो यहाँ से ना ये पामिर नॉट से शुरू कर रहे हैं. Can you see this पामिर नॉट over here? हाँ, ये नजर नहीं आ रहा है क्या आपको? आ रहा है ना? आओ, नजर आ रहा है ना? You can make out ना? वो हिंदू कुश दिखाई दे रहा है. Can you make out the Hindu Kush over here? Can you make out the Kullu mountains? Can you make out the Karakoram? You can make out these mountains, right? So these 3-4 mountains and the Tian Shan, okay, these are going to Kunlun Shan and Tian Shan. These are going to form the this looks like a knot. These are ranges that go from a central point outwards. They are radiating outwards, okay. So this is famously the Pamir knot. Nothing to do with India. We are not concerned with the Pamir knot. This used to be called as the roof of the world, but this is not currently our peak, okay. We are not dealing with it in northern mountains, okay. We are dealing with the Karakoram range because that is the Trans-Himalayas. Trans-Himalayas mean outside the Himalayas, beyond the Himalayas. That is what the Trans-Himalayas mean. So there will be 3 ranges over there. Can you see the Karakoram? Can you see the Ladakh and the Zanskar range? Huh? Can you make out these ranges, people? I'll take my spotlight. Can you see the Karakoram range over here? This is the Karakoram. Can you see the Ladakh range over here? This is the Ladakh range. And this is the Zanskar range. Okay. So these 3 will be considered Trans-Himalayas, followed by the Great Himalayas. Can you see this Great Himalayas over here? This is the Great Himalayan ranges. Okay. Followed by the Great Himalayas. So outside of the Himalayas, you have the Trans-Himalayas, Karakoram, Ladakh, and Zanskar. And then after that, you have the Great Himalayas. Okay. The Great Himalayas are the largest, tallest mountains over there. Follow them. You have the lesser Himalayas, okay? So you have the Pir Panjal over here, and then depending on which state you are on, they'll be called as different names. So Himachal mein they are called as Dhauladhar. In Uttarakhand, you call them as Nagtiba. So 5 different ranges you call the lesser Himalayas, okay? And then even further south from the lesser Himalayas, you have the Shivalik range, right? That is an even broken range. That is even of a lesser height and a much broken range, okay? That is the Shivalik ranges, and that is the Himalayas for you, okay? And they will extend like that further over here. Now you will find the Shivaliks only in the western part of India, northern western part of India, and here you won't find any Shivaliks, okay? In the eastern part of India, you don't find it. Okay, sir? In the eastern part of India, you don't find any Shivaliks, so people.